This is Mark Aaron Polgar from the ACRL National Library Marketing and Outreach Interest Group. I'm here today with Joan Petit, Associate Professor and Communications and Outreach Librarian at Portland State University Library. I'm going to be asking her a few questions about her position and the nature of her position. And I'm really excited that Joan can speak with us today. And this is part of a series of YouTube videos on the ACRL Library Marketing and Outreach video series on our YouTube channel. So I'm really excited. So thank you, Joan, very much for speaking with us today. So the first question is, if you can describe some of your daily responsibilities at Portland State University Library.
Yeah. First, just thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be participating in this. My daily responsibilities include keeping up with information about what's happening in my library, new services, workshops, new resources, collections, anything that may be new technology that we're having, or changes or additions to the library, or anything that might not be new but might be particularly relevant to our students and faculty right now. And then working to get the word out through various channels to the people who would want to know about that. So students, faculty, staff on campus. When it comes to our special collections, sometimes our audience for that is broader. It goes to the community. And then I also do some work supporting library development and fundraising.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's great. That's interesting. Not all positions include advancement or fundraising, so that's interesting that yours does. What do you enjoy most about your position?
You know, I really enjoy, I think, the creative aspects of my job. It's fun to think of new programs, new ways of engaging with our students or trying to connect with them. I'm not a graphic designer, but I have fun going into Canva and trying to come up with something attractive. Maybe when we want to promote a collection, I enjoy things like looking through our university digital archives and finding pictures from the past that maybe can resonate today. So I think that's the part that's the most fun, is just finding things that we have so much that our students are interested in, but they might not know about. So it can be really fun to try to find new or better ways to connect with them and connect them to the library.
Okay. As with every position, there might be some challenges. So what are some of your challenges as a communications and outreach librarian?
Yeah, capacity is always a challenge. I think sometimes there's so many possibilities of what we could be doing that, and I say we, it's mostly just me. I can't do it all, and I'm also not a graphic designer. I have a student assistant position. I'm filling that, or I'm going to be filling that soon, so that's really helpful. But you know, some large library systems have a communications person, a PR person, a graphic designer, and here it's me with some excellent administrative support and a student. So capacity can be challenging. You know, the other thing that's difficult can be knowing the right way or the best way to communicate with our students and faculty. It's not like we have it's not like we know exactly how to do it and we just need to press a button and get it out. So trying to figure out how our students are getting information and how we can best get that information to them. You know, another thing that I think can be a challenge is making sure communications and marketing and promotion are considered at all stages of a new project. We have some really great stuff that we're doing in the library, but sometimes at the beginning of a project, folks aren't necessarily so worried about how we're going to communicate that information. And some people do. Some people are already thinking about that. And so sometimes it can it's better when we can include sort of thinking about promotion. If we have a great service or resource and nobody knows about it, you know, then we might as well not have it. And so trying to work with my colleagues so that we're thinking about this stuff right from the start. You know, and one other challenge I think I wanted to mention is that before I worked in reference and instruction and collection development. So I was a subject librarian, and my work in libraries has been in public services. And one thing I really miss is having colleagues who do a job similar to what I do. I always really valued the conversations I would have with colleagues about, you know, well, here's a tricky reference question, or what's a way to approach instruction for this, or just kind of bouncing ideas off of people. And I can still do that. And I have very supportive colleagues and some lovely people that I work with, but none of them are as focused on communications and marketing. It's not part of their job like it's part of mine. So I'm a little bit more professionally isolated. And you know, that can be, so that it just means that I have to work a little harder to find my people, which has actually been one of the reasons I value the library marketing and outreach interest group so much, because it is a great place to find people who are doing similar work.
Thank you for plugging the group.
Yeah, it's a great
you.
group. I really appreciated it.
And our last question would be, are there any recent marketing successes at your library that you'd like to talk about? Because we always want to hear about the successes.
Sure. You know, we had one thing, it was a PR success, but that all kind of falls under the broad category of my job. So I was going to mention that because it was pretty fun and surprising and almost a little bit silly just how big it went. So we had one of our library staff or students, when they were getting the books from the return book drop, they found in there some books that had been checked out 52 years ago. And this happens in libraries, right? People bring books back from long ago. And but you know, we had they were just interesting looking books. I mean, they looked like old textbooks. And so I mentioned this to our university communications folks, and I wrote up a short little piece about it just for the library website, and then University Communications sent out a press release. Well, it turns out that this story really resonates with people. So within you know, a couple hours of sending out the press release, I got calls from local news stations who came over and did an interview, and then it got picked up nationally.
Wow,
then it went international, and it was just so funny to watch it. So I spoke with a reporter from the Washington Post. Our local paper, the Oregonian, put it out on the wire, and so the New York Times ran it, and it was you know, I think it's funny to think about. I think that that overdue books, I think like all the cameramen who are camera operators who came and spoke with me told me some story about having some overdue book when they were a kid and feeling really guilty about it. So I think that's why it resonates. But even you know, it was in the Daily Mail in the UK. It was just Gawker ran a really kind of snarky, kind of mean piece about it. Anyway, so that that didn't take much work for me. That's one of those things where, you know, you can't plan for something like that. And that was funny. And I think our communications folks were really surprised. I don't think they expected that it would go so far. So that was fun to see, you know, the mention of my library and this story picked up so far. And then the other thing that I want to mention that I think is a smaller scale success, but ultimately probably more important than a story about overdue books, is we just started having, lots of libraries have student advisory boards or things like that, and my library hasn't had anything like that, at least not in the recent past. And we've been interested in having more conversations with students that go beyond, you know, every so often we do surveys or we do LibQual where we are getting really kind of, we're getting feedback, but we're not kind of having in-depth conversations with students. And so this year we've started a series of conversations, not necessarily with the same group every time, but and so in just a couple weeks ago, we had a study break and we had a bunch of students come in. So we gave them a little bit of food, which is, you know, we got bagels and cream cheese and things like that. And that's how we got them in the door. And the students all completed by hand a short written survey, a little bit about the library, but mostly about communications, how they're getting information on campus, how they're communicating with their friends. And then we had small group discussions, and we had 4 or 5 of those led by librarians, where we all asked a series of questions and kind of wrote down notes. And that was great. I was able to have conversations with students about what kind of social media they're using. I heard from them about, it was really interesting to me. They don't really feel like they know what's going on campus. I thought that was one of the questions. Do you feel like you know what's going on campus? And they said no. And that was sad to hear, but it was interesting because I thought they were going to say yes, because I was sort of saying, okay, great, tell me how we can communicate. But through these established channels. But it's not just, it's clear that getting information to students, even when they're looking for the information, isn't always easy. So I think it was just really nice. It was also finals, and we were feeding them snacks, so they were really appreciative. And it was fun. I said to a couple of the students, do you feel like we're exploiting you or taking advantage of you by, having you fill out this survey? And they were like, are you kidding? We feel like we're taking advantage of you because of all this free food. And anyway, but it was great to have this conversation with students where we could get a little more in depth and find out more about what it's like for them on our campus, not just what it's like when they use the library or how can we make the building better, but specifically, things about how things that will sort of inform longer term planning about how we communicate with them. So it's not so much I think that's the part where, we're sort of doing research. I wouldn't call it, it's not formal research, but we're learning more about our users. And that's exciting because I feel like my work and efforts towards communicating with them are going to be a lot better informed by the information I got from them. So instead of just kind of implementing, we're also talking and learning. So that's been really fun and satisfying.
Great. I mean, that's an excellent example. I mean, this is marketing research, and it's market research where things have to be user-centered because you can promote, but you really need to know what your users want and what they need. So thank you very, very much for speaking with me today. And on behalf of the co-conveners of the ACRL National Library Marketing and Interest Group, I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. This will be posted on YouTube, and we hope that you visit us on Facebook. You are a very frequent Facebook contributor, so thank you very much for contributing to our Facebook presence. And we really, really appreciate the time that you took in answering some questions. And again, this has been part of a really great YouTube series of videos, so watch out for the next series of videos. So thank you very much, Joan.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.